Thanks very much for staying with us. Time now for Eye on Africa with me, Georgia Calvin-Smith. Tonight, 4 Nigerian widows who brought a case against energy giant Shell for allegedly helping corrupt witnesses have their case thrown out. The complainants' husbands, known as the Ogoni 9, were executed in 1995 for campaigning against the exploitation of oil in southern Nigeria. Liberia makes breastfeeding the law. New mothers will have to breastfeed their babies for at least 6 months. Studies say it's best for newborns, but campaigners believe legislation is a heavy-handed approach. And Tunisia welcomes back its first cruise ship in 3 years. The Spirit of Discovery sails hopefully into port as the country's battered tourism industry looks ahead to its recovery from the ravages of the pandemic. But first, a Dutch court has thrown out a case brought by 4 Nigerian widows against Shell for lack of evidence. They'd accused the energy giant of bribing witnesses in the case against their husbands. Known as the Ogoni 9, the men had been campaigners against the exploitation of oil in the Niger Delta. They were executed by Nigeria in 1995 after a military trial that many rights organisations have denounced as a sham. Samuel Okoye tells us more.
The verdict in the Netherlands is a setback for Ogoni widows who want to hold the Anglo-Dutch oil company Shell responsible for the execution of their husbands. The playwright and environmentalist Ken Saro-Wiwa, together with 8 other Ogoni activists, were tried and executed in 1995 by the then military government in power, following their campaign which stopped Shell from operating in Ogoni land. 4 of the widows took Shell to court, alleging that it bribed witnesses to testify against the executed men during their trial before a special tribunal that was seen to be in support of Shell. Some witnesses told the Dutch court that Shell representatives paid them to give false testimonies against the executed men. The Dutch court, however, ruled that there was insufficient evidence to support the widows' claims against Shell. The widows are expected to appeal the court's verdict. The Ogonis, like many other communities in Nigeria's oil-producing Niger Delta region, accuse Shell and other Western oil companies of causing environmental pollution. The communities also accuse the oil companies of colluding with the Nigerian government and security agencies to perpetrate human rights abuses so oil exploitation can continue in the region. The oil companies, especially Shell, have faced lots of litigations in European courts from Nigerian communities who say they cannot get justice in Nigerian courts. Western oil companies have been accused of using their wealth and influence to frustrate communities in their quest for justice in Nigeria.
Samuel Okoye there for us. Now, earlier this month, the Nigerian army shut down around 40 illegal refineries across 4 states in the Niger Delta. Nearly 3 million litres of stolen crude oil were recovered. The black market tapping of pipelines involves the burning of crude in makeshift tanks and is massively polluting. Our correspondents report.
This is what remains of the illegal refinery. Chidi Lloyd is the ringleader of the raid, commissioned by the governor of Rivers State. With each destruction, a new illegal refinery is built elsewhere.
The young boys who come here to cook are not the ones we are looking for. The owners of these ovens or pots or whatever they call them are in the different hotels in Port Harcourt.
In this hospital in Port Harcourt, Dr. D. Briggs notes the effect of oil-related gas fumes. This young woman has suffered from asthma for almost 15 years. She has regular attacks because of the degradation of the air in the metropolis.
I swore an oath to protect the health and well-being of my patient. Whenever I see my patients suffer for ailments that are not of their making, they don't have control over the air they breathe. It is the responsibility of the government and stakeholders in the oil and gas industries to conduct their businesses according to international standards.
In the Niger Delta, life expectancy is 40 years. That is 14 years less than the national average. With a digital box like this one, environmental associations measure the level of air pollution with a device.
Clean air should be a human right. There is no access to clean air, and if you look at the indexes that have happened in the past 2-3 years in Africa, air pollution alone has contributed to loss of lives of more than 2 million people.
Since January, several hundred illegal refineries have been destroyed in Port Harcourt area, but hundreds more continue to operate, making it difficult to improve the air quality in this key Nigerian oil and gas region.
And a key bridge in Lagos was badly damaged by fire on Wednesday. The Akko Bridge is one of 3 flyovers linking mainland parts of the city to business districts in the lagoon. Several shops have been gutted, and it's not clear when the bridge will be able to reopen. At least one witness has reportedly speculated that a spark from electricity being suddenly turned back on at the grid caused the blaze. The country's been facing extended power blackouts. Liberia's House of Representatives has unanimously passed a bill requiring mothers to breastfeed their newborns until they're 6 months old. The country has one of the highest infant mortality rates in the world, and the WHO recommends breastfeeding as it's been shown to have the best impact on the cognitive and physical development of children. Many people mistakenly believe that it actually can be harmful. Nevertheless, some Liberians say legislating on this front goes too far. Our regional correspondent has more.
Breastfeeding will no longer be an option, but a duty for able mothers in Liberia. The House of Representatives has passed a bill requiring healthy women to breastfeed their newborns for at least 6 months after birth. Lawmakers say they're trying to foster stronger bonds between mothers and babies. A recent UNICEF report has said that only about 5 in 10 babies are exclusively breastfed in Liberia, and many people believe that babies should be fed water for their first months. MPs also said that mothers are inundated with incorrect and biased information through formula advertising, which is not in the infant's best interest. Discussions in the lower house around the new bill also raised the enormous costs of not breastfeeding, which studies suggest negatively affect the health of both mother and baby. It costs about $200,000 annually to treat non-breastfed babies who are more prone to falling ill with diabetes and pneumonia. The health of mothers is also affected. A 2020 UNICEF report found that they were more likely to develop type 2 diabetes. Women physically unable to breastfeed will be exempt from the law, but some women's rights activists say the bill stifles mothers' rights to make their own decisions about their bodies and the way they want to raise their children. Earlier, we spoke to Aisha Lai from the Quina Till Quina, a foundation, who told us that although she believes that breastfeeding should be encouraged, the emphasis should be put on educating women.
I think we need to really work to educate our mothers and also our grandmothers, who are the ones who hold these values, and educate the younger generation. But to put a law in place for women who are just doing something that they think is best for their baby, I don't think that is the solution.
The bill comes on the heels of a growing conversation over infant malnutrition in Liberia.
Kenan Ferjani there. Now, the island of Madagascar has been hit by 6 natural disasters in just 4 months. More than 460,000 people have been affected and more than 200 have died. The city of Madagascar in the east has almost been wiped off the map, but tens of thousands of people are still living there, many without housing, electricity or water. Our team reports.
A city in ruins. Cyclones Batsirai and Imnati devastated Mananzari, leaving thousands of people without shelter, food or water. Among them is 29-year-old Gita, a single mother with 2 young children.
Here you are, this is my plate.
Chicken, rice and vegetables. The government's handing out a meal a day to those who need it. But it's not enough for Gita to support her family. Every day, her children eat on the ground next to the remains of their home.
Here you see my son is eating, but sometimes it's not enough for him, and I am forced to starve myself, because he is very hungry.
1,300 of the city's 5,500 households still don't have anywhere to live. Tonight, Gita won't eat and will probably sleep outside. There is no space left in the emergency housing. There's also a lack of drinking water. Floods have mixed the clean water supply with the city's waste. That's been made worse by the number of people forced to relieve themselves in the open. UNICEF has been distributing water purification kits and is teaching residents about the dangers of habits that can increase the likelihood of catching waterborne diseases.
We must make an effort to use toilets. because if our fecal matter is scattered in nature, it will pollute the Pangalan Canal and come back to bite us, right?
The World Bank has injected more than 36 million euros into emergency programs here, and a dozen NGOs are working on the ground. The government is still working on developing a reconstruction plan, which international donors want to see before sending extra aid to the country. In the meantime, the international climate emergency continues to threaten the life of hundreds of thousands of Malagasy.
And Wednesday saw Tunisia welcome its first cruise ship since 2019. The arrival of the 700 passengers is some rare good news to a battered tourism industry. Wasim Kone with more.
They're back, and Tunisian authorities are breathing a sigh of relief. For the first time since 2019, a cruise ship packed with tourists has docked at one of the country's ports. The Spirit of Discovery, carrying British, German, Italian, and Spanish tourists, arrived in Tunis on Wednesday, where it was welcomed by camels and a band playing traditional music. It's the kickoff to what officials hope will be a good tourism season. They expect at least 40 cruise ships to dock in Tunisia this year.
عودة متاع الرحلات متاع السياحة البحرية بعد غياب 3 سنوات مهم جدا بالنسبة للسياحة التونسية، مهم جدا لعدة قطاعات كما قطاع النقل، قطاع الصناعة التقليدية، قطاع الثقافة.
The industry hopes to bring visitor numbers and spending back to 60% of the levels seen in 2019. That year was the best since the country's revolution 8 years earlier. Here's what passengers had to say as they disembarked in Tunis.
Well, we're certainly just pleased to get out and see some of the world, and get to some of the places that we haven't seen.
I'm really happy to be here. Looking forward to our tour.
Tourist spending is key to Tunisia's economy. It makes up around 14% of GDP and provides a living for about a sixth of the population.
Well, that's it for Eye on Africa for now. Thanks for joining us, and do so again if you can. Till then, take care.